Welcome to an introduction to Scandinavian Church Records. This is the third and final part of a three-part series. My name is Jenny Hansen. I'm an accredited genealogist who specializes in Scandinavia. RootsTech is asking me to make you aware that the contents of this video include my thoughts, views, and opinions. They do not necessarily reflect the views of FamilySearch or of RootsTech. In part one of this series, we talked about a few key concepts related to effective church record research in Scandinavia. We discussed the implications of a state church for our genealogy research, and we also talked about handwriting styles and feast days. Part two of the series took a look at different records that make up the church record books. My goal for this portion of the series is to help you understand how to get access to those church records. You're all excited to use them, but you don't know where to find them yet, so let's do it. There's two main resources that we're going to discuss today for how to access records for your Scandinavian ancestors. These are not the only ways that you can get there, just the two easiest, most straightforward. The first is through the Family History Library collection. Today you might be more familiar with this collection as the record images linked on FamilySearch. The FamilySearch images began as microfilm images. Scandinavia was the first location outside of the US where record filming took place. It was started in the 1940s in Denmark and then moved to Norway and Sweden. The quality of these original images really varies depending upon the conditions of the original records. Because they were imaged early on in the process, the technology was a bit limited, so you get what you get. But access to all of these records is free. FamilySearch, as well as some of the other conglomerate websites like MyHeritage and Ancestry, have compiled indexes for portions of the church records for each of these countries. These indexes can be very helpful. Some of these indexes even have the images attached directly to the index entries. I would just lend a word of caution, though, about relying too heavily on these indexes for your research. First of all, they don't cover every part of all the countries. They're just portions of the massive image databases. And also because of the high use of repeated names in Scandinavia, it's really easy to get both false positives and false negatives. There are times when I use these indexes and they're really helpful. But the most effective way that I have found to do research in Scandinavia is by browsing church record images with my own two little eyeballs. It's also really helpful to realize how these indexes were created. Most were either done by volunteers, like those done on FamilySearch through the FamilySearch indexing program, or they were created by people who were not necessarily specialists in Scandinavian languages. The records available on FamilySearch can be located by clicking on the Search tab at the top of the main page. Once you get to this landing page, I would really recommend that you don't just do a general search. It's tempting to jump in there. So go ahead and choose your location from the map and then specify that you want to look in those church record collections for the country that you decided. I can insert different search parameters that I want for my ancestor. So here I'm going to look for Hans Månsson of Rättvik Parish in Sweden. Of course, I'm left with a million options to search because Hans Månsson is hardly a very unique name. But I also can view the different record images that go with these index entries. When I find one that I'm interested in looking at, I first see this detailed index entry. This helps me to know if it's really worth going on or if this is something that I can just set aside as not my ancestor. I also have a link to the church books, but you see that I'm told I'll need to browse the images to find this particular entry. So while I know this entry exists, it's still going to take me a little bit of work to find what I want. Let's go ahead and click on that link and see what happens. This page is going to allow me to pick which images I want to view, and then I can start reading through the records to find the entry that matches my index entry. I'm not going to get too much into the details of how to go about doing this. That's a longer explanation and just something that you probably could figure out on your own. So another way to find Scandinavian church records on FamilySearch is by using the Family History Library catalog. While this isn't index related, this will get you directly to the church books that you can browse on your own. So again, when you're on that main FamilySearch page, Just choose search, and from that drop-down menu, you'll want to choose the catalog. It's highlighted here on my screenshot. From this page, I can type in the parish of interest. So I want to go back to Rättvik Parish in Sweden and see if I can find my ancestor there. FamilySearch is really smart. So when I start typing, they give me suggestions that will help with the spelling and with the different jurisdictional boundaries. I didn't have to know this all myself. I didn't have to have shortcuts to get the special characters. I just typed in Rättvik on my American keyboard and it figured out what I wanted. Here's the catalog results for every record FamilySearch can provide for me for Rättvik. Of course, I'm wanting to look at the church records, so I'm going to choose that first record book for my source to start research. When you get to this page, you're going to immediately see that big notice that these record images are available online. Well, if you were to click on that bold link right there in the red and blue, you'll find an index to this collection. You've already heard me talk about indexes. I want to keep scrolling down on this page without taking that bait and clicking the link. Then I'm going to see a list of all the church records for this area. So let's do it. This is the list of the church books, and it goes on for pages. You can see that camera icon on the far right of the page that's next to each entry. That camera indicates that I can view record images for that church book. So let's try it out. I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these household examination books I want to look at and just click right on the camera. By clicking that camera icon, I found myself looking right at the book. So I can follow those camera links to any of the church books that interest me. FamilySearch has a great collection of online images for the church books of Scandinavia. And it's really fun to see so many new things going online and available for me to browse at my leisure. The second way to go about finding the church record books, and my personal favorite, is to work through the national archives for each country. So I'm going to show you a quick overview of each of these three main websites. I'm going to encourage you to look at the sites yourself to learn more about the ins and outs of how to use them. They're not very difficult and it's pretty intuitive. So today I'm just going to show you what the sites look like, the basics about how to find the church records there, and then just know that all these sites are available for you to use for free. The web addresses are included in the syllabus that is linked to all these videos in the series. But as always, you can also do a search online for any of these entities and end up right where you need to be. So we're going to go in alphabetical order: Denmark, Norway, Sweden. This is the website for the Danish National Archives. The site's going to come up in Danish, but you'll see up at the top in the right corner, there's a link for English, which I've already selected. Right here you'll see for the link in Danish on the page now. At the bottom of the page, you can barely see that parish register link peeking over the bottom, but that's the spot to click. You can either scroll down or just click in there right now. After choosing the church records, you're going to choose which church books from the whole country you want to see. So this page here gives you a drop-down menu that you can select your county and your parish. And after making your selection, you can see the list of books and all the years that they cover. This is just an example for one parish in Sorø County. You see the different books and the years, and when I click on the plus, it expands that to break down and let me see a few more options within the different years. So I selected the book that I wanted from the list of years, and here I am looking at church book images. This is where I do all my research in Denmark. I always go through the Danish National Archives. I can very easily navigate between the books, between the years, even between locations within parishes of the same area. There are tools at the top right corner of this page that allow me to download and to save and to print images. You can see them from the icons up there. This really is a simple page to use. There's not many fancy bells and whistles to it. It gives me the images of the records and lets me look, and that's all I'm really looking for. The Digital Archives is the section of the Norwegian National Archives that houses church books. So here we are with the Norwegian National Archives. If this page opens to a language that's unfamiliar to you, select your preferred language from that top right corner. All of these have that feature built in. As you scroll down this page, you're going to see links to the Norwegian church books, and that's what you want to choose. The National Archives has a lot of other things available, but this digital archive will take you directly to the church books if that's what you want. This next page gives me a drop-down menu on the left side column. So I don't need to fill out every space, just enough to get my record books. I'm only putting in a county and a parish. That's enough for me to bring the books up that I want for my ancestor. So Telemark County, Solon Parish. From this page, I can choose which books I want to search. You might notice that these books are divided up by record type. I can go directly to the christenings, which is that DP, marriages, which are signified by VI, or whatever else I need. So I'm probably just lost a bunch of you. If you're uncertain about what these foreign abbreviations really mean, all you have to do is hover your mouse over those links and an English explanation will pop up telling you what the books are. I chose to look at the christenings for this parish in 1814. Just like the records in Denmark, I can browse the books using those built-in tools up along the top of the images. There are a lot of options for saving and printing my images, and whenever I do research in Norway, this is my first source for finding church records. You might notice that these images are a lot prettier, easier to read, clearer, crisp pictures beyond what you would see on FamilySearch. There have been newer, more recent filmings of all of these church books, and with the new technology, we can do this grayscale imaging rather than just a solid black and white, and the Norwegian images in particular are beautiful. So here we are in Sweden. Sweden's a little bit more complicated. There's a few ways that you can search the church record books in Sweden. So for my purposes today, I'm trying to keep things simple and streamlined. I'm just going to show you the Swedish National Archives. But I want you to be aware that there are some excellent subscription-based services to enhance your research in Sweden. The main one would be the site called Archive Digital, and please don't overlook that one. Watch for information from them here within the RootsTech offerings. When you first come to the Swedish National Archives site, you're going to want to scroll down to see the Search Collections link. It's just off my page here, so you just continue scrolling, and there are built-in translation links, of course, in the right corner if you can't find your way around the site because of language barriers. When I click on the digital collections for Sweden, they're broken into a few groups. Now, the great thing about this is they give us a giant hint about what link is going to be right for our research. So go to that Extended Records tab that says it includes church archives and census records. It's the middle one. From the Church Archives link, I have a drop-down menu for my location. I need to first choose the county for my research, and then it's going to take me to a long list of every parish within the county. You might be noticing that while Sweden has the records available, it's definitely taking us a lot more clicks to get where we need to be. It's not quite as straightforward as Denmark, even Norway. So here's the list of all the different parishes within the county that I selected. I'm going to scroll through this list until I can find that parish of Rättvik. Now I finally see the list of all the records for Rättvik Parish, and it begins with the household examinations. The other church books all follow after the household examinations. I just find the records that I want and then click that obvious giant green box to see the records. Once I select the records to search, I can go to the record images. So here I can browse the full books. I eventually got there. It just took me a few more clicks and links. So again, I can save, download, print, use all those tools that are at the top of the page. All the record samples that I've shown here in the previous sessions can be found on these National Archives pages or in the FamilySearch pages. You've now had a good overview of how to find the Scandinavian church records. We looked at how to find the collections on FamilySearch, and we also looked at each of the 3 National Archive pages to see how directly we can find the images for each country. The records for Scandinavia are some of the best in the world. Their access is so good and it's so easy to find them. You can literally do your family history research at home in your cozy pajamas without ever having to even pay access fees if you don't want to. I hope that this series has helped you to understand the church records in Scandinavia. More than anything else, I hope that you feel empowered to start researching on your own. Thanks for joining me for this 3-part series discussing the Scandinavian Church Records.